talking honeymoons go. Charles&Melendia got the flow.
What's up?
What's up, fam?
Real talk, ain't no need for show.
Yeah.
In love's garden, watch it grow. Just keep it real. Don't preach.
All right, y'all. What's up, fam?
What's up, fam?
It's Keeping It Real with Charles and
Melendia.
we got one for you today.
We do.
Hey, hope you're doing well. Glad that you joined us.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And we want to talk close and serious about some issues.
Yep, we do.
What we talking about there?
What we talking about is a taboo topic.
Is it?
Yes. And it happens. What we're talking about? Infidelity.
Infidelity.
In relationships, marriage. And why?
You know,
Why?
over the years, though, there's been a saying for plenty of years, and folk have said, and they've asked the question, why do men cheat? Have you heard that one before?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I also heard, why does women cheat?
Why do women cheat?
You know what? Let's talk about it.
Okay. Well, I guess the thing is, as we talk, why does anyone cheat? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some hard truths, about maybe 10 facts about infidelity that we want to share with you. And ready to go in. So the question is, I'm going to ask this.
You asking what? You asking me.
Have you
You
cheated?
know what? Have I cheated? So somebody say, why is she pausing? Have I cheated mentally?
Somebody. I'm saying the same thing. Why are you pausing? Yeah. Mm-hmm, sure. Yeah. Right.
Well, you know, honestly, mentally, yes.
Okay. Mentally.
Have you?
Pause. Well, let me say this much too. I have to go on the same thing to say, because one thing, I have to bring Bible in here for a minute, because I remember in the scriptures they came to Jesus about the subject of infidelity or adultery, and he says, "I want to tell you, I say to you, that if a man look at a woman to lust for in his heart, he's already committed adultery." And from that saying, I am guilty. Have I? I mean, you know, hey, yeah, I've looked at plenty of women and done that in my heart and said, "Oh, it's so fine." Oh man, you know, I've done that. Yeah. But the thing about it, in that, I'm asking the Lord to keep me, and I have, even through that, not to perform that act, and even not to continue to commit that in my heart, because I want my heart to be clear before God. Doesn't make me better than anybody. If you've ever cheated, it doesn't make me better. But what we believe here, that you and your significant other spouse needs to have the conversation. Now, okay.
Before it gets that deep, and then you know, we may have some jest in our conversation today, but we know that this is a serious topic.
Very serious, yes.
You know, because our strategies and our purpose is basically to have us stay together and talk about these real topics.
Sure.
Things that happens today.
Okay. So let's get into it. So what are some of the reasons that people step out, people cheat, or have affairs, or get intertwined with someone else? What are some of the reasons? Okay.
There's a plethora of reasons,
okay,
right? So you know, if I just have to come up with one thought, it's emotional. Maybe they are not getting things. There's a disconnection emotionally.
Okay, emotional disconnect. So in other words, a person may feel undesired, may feel unheard or not seen, per se, may feel that they're being taken for granted and feel like they're not being valued. That could be, you know, a reason for someone doing that. Are we saying it's a valid, or is it? It's not a justifiable reason, because it never is. because again, the things that you put at risk when you do that.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, in addition, there could be some unmet needs.
Okay.
Unmet needs, and where and the whole thing stems from they're not talking about it.
Sure. Sure.
And then
Right.
we'll talk a little bit about why they may not talk about it.
Yeah, and that can be touchy, and even in
Mhm.
having a conversation about the things, if you're not meeting needs, or I don't feel validated or heard, then sometimes that could be an issue. And I
Mhm.
remember for us, at one point you told me, this was during the pandemic. We were spending a lot of time at home, and you say sometimes I feel like I'm not validated, I'm not heard,
Mhm.
and that my opinions don't matter.
Right.
And I said to you, okay, all right, I got you.
And
So,
and that is real today, right? And
mhm.
so what happens is when you get shut up in those feelings and you don't discuss that,
Mhm.
then what ultimately, and we'll discuss more, elaborate more on that, is the devil used that space and opportunity for that unmet need that you say you don't have, and
Mhm.
that disconnection of emotions that you don't have. He'll use that time for that.
And what we did agree to go to counseling. So that was one of the things, a step
Hmm.
towards that. So
Hmm.
what the unheard, I guess, unheard, and the
Unmet.
undervalue feeling, and seem like you're not, I guess, again, you're not being heard, and you're not valued, and you
Hmm.
just feel like you're not significant, and I'm playing you down.
Hmm.
All of that, we decided that's what we wanted to do, to get someone to kind of hear us
And most
out.
of the
And
time, too,
mhm.
the other person may not realize that they're doing that.
Sure, sure, right, right.
So
Hmm.
you especially those that may have been in relationships for a long time, married for a long time, you're like, you should know what I need.
Right.
You should know what I'm thinking. You should know these particular things. Because sometimes, it seemed like, well, even one time, it seemed like we were, he could finish my sentences.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, but what happens when he don't know what my sentence is, and what happened if he don't know where I'm going with what I'm saying?
Sure,
So
right.
if we do not communicate these unresolved issues, it becomes
Hmm.
an issue. It
Okay.
becomes a major issue.
So you mentioned the word unresolved. So that takes us into one of the other reasons here.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
again, if we have something in the past, it could be trauma from the past, growing up,
Hmm.
issues that may cause um, a person not to have a balance there, and may end up cheating in a relationship. What are we talking? What are some of the
It could
things that we
be,
say?
what we're talking about, symptoms of this.
Yeah, like
Okay.
if we say
Some trauma.
unresolved past
Trauma.
issues or trauma, because I know we talked about this just a few weeks ago in the Thursday dose.
Well, it could be
Yeah.
people that
Hmm.
may have had like some inner wounds, some inner deep troubles that's happened in the past. They could have been felt abandoned,
Okay. Uh huh.
you know,
Hmm.
or neglected or rejected,
Right. Okay.
or had some kind of really serious past betrayal.
Okay. So in other words, like a person could have had someone cheat on them in the past.
Mhm.
So I guess with them it could be retaliation
Mhm.
or revenge per se, and that they're doing. They never got those issues resolved. So now they're doing that in the future here with
Mhm.
other people,
Mhm.
right? Or
And
even the
usually,
same person.
and that's the
Hmm.
saying where hurt people,
Yes, right. Uh-huh.
so
Hmm.
not realizing that the person that love you the most,
Hmm.
is they're not the person that did this. They're
Hmm.
not the person that caused the betrayal or caused the hurt and the challenges that and the trauma that you may have been through. But
Sure.
you're not that person is not thinking about that
Right.
like that.
And everybody's going to pay because I was hurt in the past. So
Mhm.
that could be some of the reasons there before for that, or for cheating or
Mhm.
infidelity in that
Mhm.
person's mind. And
Mhm.
then two, let's talk about one or the other. Number three.
What
What? Go
what
ahead.
people having the lack of accountability.
Okay, lack of
You know,
accountability.
opportunity and lack of accountability.
So,
So,
okay, in other words, a person may cheat because they have the opportunity. You've
right.
seen programs now. I know you've seen some of these shows where they test the person to see the individual whether you're going to be trustworthy or
Mhm,
not. And
mhm.
they may have some decoy come in. It could be a very attractive woman to see whether the man falls for or whether the woman falls for the man.
Mhm.
And you know, so that's the thing. It's like a decoy or a test. And it's just like, oh wow. And she may come on aggressive or he may come on aggressive. And then if the person, you know, is weak or falling for it, then they may give in to it. And then it's like, bam, I can't trust you.
Mhm.
So with that, having the opportunity. So that's the thing. Or not being accountable, you say, hey man, I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do. So go ahead.
So
Mhm.
I think too in that it leaves the open door when you have the space and opportunity.
Mhm.
You know, for example, it was when Charles and I, when we were living in two separate cities,
Separate states.
separate
Right.
states. There you
Yeah,
go.
definitely. Right.
Two
Yeah,
separate
we were
states.
4 hours away.
And
Four.
and guess what? We both had time
Mhm.
and opportunity.
And that went on for a period of
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Not good. I would not recommend that for anybody in a relationship
But
because
it was
again,
tough.
yeah,
It was
it
tough.
was. It was. And at times I told you when everything's got so, if I need to take up and walk off and come home, see, that was the thing. She knew time to talk, but she said, I ain't gonna let him walk off. No. But
And I'm gonna tell you, you know,
yeah.
that's a real good example
Mhm. Sure,
because
sure.
no, I did not. Things were tough.
Yeah.
Things were tough
Mhm.
financially.
Sure.
Things were tough,
Mhm.
you know, relationally,
Yeah.
and we had dealt with things like this before, as far as tough times.
Right, right.
And you know, a woman likes her security.
Sure,
A
sure.
woman likes her
Right.
security. So he was in a different state working,
Was working.
and
Right. Mhm.
I was not as transparent about how
Mhm.
tough it was because I didn't want him quitting.
Sure. Right.
Okay,
Mhm.
you know, so we could we were dealing with the fact that he was 3-4 hours away from us.
4 hours
Four-
away.
But we were 4 hours away from each other. So there was time and there was opportunity.
Absolutely.
You know,
Right,
but
right.
then
Oh, I said the
but
word.
then
Mhm.
we had to realize
Mhm.
that we have to set boundaries
Sure.
and be accountable.
That's the thing. The boundary set. Because did you have temptations during that time? Do
Absolutely.
you have any approaches during that time?
I did.
Okay, I did too. Did you fall?
Did you fall?
No.
No,
That's a yes or no
That's a
question.
no question.
Uh-uh.
No,
Okay.
did
All
not.
right. No, I did
So,
not.
you know,
Okay.
but
All right.
was
Well,
it
all right, my love.
was it
Thank the
hard
Lord.
sometimes to sustain?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you
Yes.
know what? I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you what we had
Right.
to do. Sometimes we'd be like, you know what? We need to meet in the middle.
If we got to meet halfway,
We
whatever,
need to meet
2 hours in, we're going to
Yeah.
meet because we
Mhm.
got to stop that devil from trying to put thoughts and have us go in that direction.
Yeah.
So
So
whatever you got to do to make it happen, that's what we're talking about today. So even with that, it was tough. We
mhm.
will say it was tough, but we were able to get through.
Yeah.
And during my point in time, I'm working on, you know, basically at this plant, working with and even training people. And I know on occasion seeing young ladies bending over and doing that stuff, and oh, definitely the enemy like look at oh wow, look at all of that. See, no, I'm just saying that's just the way things work, you know, for real. And so I'm sitting here and I said, oh Lord, I don't need that in
So
my
what we're gonna
face.
talk about is how he
Mhm.
got through that. How I got through that.
Right.
Because you know,
Mhm.
I decided to go back to school.
Yep.
You know, so I'm being surrounded by people younger than me, people gathering together, having their social events.
Men younger than her. She's saying
Yeah,
people.
that too. You know, yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that is the point of we saying we had space and opportunity.
Sure.
The point is, what did we do with that space
Mhm.
and that opportunity? And what we didn't want to happen is, or what I have seen happen when people go through things that they may have fallen or something like that.
Sure.
And
Mhm.
the other person, one of the other reasons is retaliation. You know,
Okay.
they fall into that category of cheating
Mhm.
because of revenge or retaliation.
And let me say something on that note. I want to relay a story on that because again, it's just like this, revenge or retaliation. I do recall, and I believe you should be able to have open conversations with your spouse or significant other, concerning these matters. Because number one, I can't feel comfortable talking with somebody else and not talking with you if there's an issue, whether in the bedroom or there are issues there that things are not happening like you desire or like I desire. We ought to be close enough to have that without anybody tripping or doing whatever. We ought to be just that close to be able to do that. But I'm going to share something with you. There was a place that I worked back in the day. About 6,000 people working at this facility. Lot of men, a lot of women. Fine women too. Yeah. Okay. So I mean that's the thing. But I'll say this much that there was a story about one particular lady that I had worked with at one point. I heard that she had gone to her husband to have that conversation. Told her husband, "Honey, you're not fulfilling me." And so in that, should I hold this and wait?
What?
Should I wait on this? No, we're talking about revenge or retaliation.
Right.
And the man said, "Well, if I'm not, then you get somebody that will." She did. He worked there too at the plant.
That's a mess.
So now, so that's it. We've got to avoid those things. That's where the enemy comes in because again, revenge or retaliation. And she said, "You don't tell me that and think I won't do it." And she did. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So,
what could happen, when it's being received, and sometimes why one partner may not say anything is because they're afraid they may hurt the person's ego or may feel that
ego.
yeah, because and I'm gonna say especially men, if a woman say you're not fulfilling me like I desire, or let's just say she don't want to say anything.
Okay, I'll go with you on that. I know I kind of played a little bit on it, but because I think that we as men, we grow up. Sometimes we think that we're Johnny on the spot and we're hitting the ball like it needs to be hit and everything, and we're doing all of this and we're making fireworks. And sometimes we may not be doing a thing. Okay. But it goes both ways too. Now, don't get me wrong. And that's why we hear songs that say, "I know nobody can love you like I do." You heard me say this before. We say, "I'm the best you ever had," and all. I don't know. And I'm not going to take for granted I'm the best you ever had. But I'm going to tell you, in this marriage here, I'm going to get better because I want to have the conversations. If things are not right, then you can tell me, we can adjust, make some adjustments. Like we talked about that guided missile the other week. Sometimes you make adjustments to get and hit the target. Sometimes we got to do that. You got to be open enough to do it without any ego.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's for both of us.
Yeah.
So,
and I
go
think
ahead.
too, with discussions I've had with married women that deal with the inability to feel like I'm saying inability, but they felt that they've been unfulfilled.
Okay.
But they say once I start talking to him, then it gets into a big crash argument because his ego is hurt, his pride is messed up.
Sure.
Then he becomes insecure, and then next thing you know, they say, "I'm just not going to say anything."
And I guess accusations may come after that because then, well, if all this time you just not want to say something about it, then what, somebody else you see and somebody else you got in mind, that question may come about.
And the whole time, the woman just wanted to talk about it so they can get through it. But they wind up, then what happens, they wind up not saying anything because of what may happen, because they know their partner. I mean, then again, you taking a chance that it may not happen that way.
Sure.
But the statistics are when they have dealt with that before, they'll feel like I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to cause us to get into this big thing or him start accusing me.
You and I just like I've told you that if there are any issues, hey, I'm a brother. I like to keep it open. Let's talk about it. We get there, and just like we had a discussion today about some of the same issues, and we were honest about it. And I just told you, hey, look, we because I know that for us, we may have in mind to take each other for granted. That I know I'm doing this job. I know I'm pleasing and all of this. Don't ever get to that point. Always be open that a chance you may not be doing what you think you are. So I don't want to pat myself too much over the back. That, hey man, I got this girl. I know. No. Show me if I'm not putting my finger where it needs to go. Then you take my finger and do that in life. Now you read that the way you want to read it, okay? All right. So that's what we're talking about, being that open. So we talked about the ego and the insecurity behind it, but you've got to get to a point where you can have that conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Another reason that we can discuss?
A person can be bored.
Okay.
I mean, there's no excitement.
Okay.
It's always in my mind. When it comes to intimacy and things, to keep me stimulated, it happens way before the bedroom.
Okay.
It can happen when you wake up in the morning and you kiss me in the cheek. Kiss me in the cheek before we go depart and do, have our prayer and before we do anything. Maybe sending me a text or me sending you a text or some kind of flirtatious something or something random or something like that. We got to have some spice throughout, because sometimes what can happen when a female, not speaking for all females, but I'm speaking for some females, that when we feel like you wait until it's time for us to go to bed, and then that's the time you want it, it's like, really?
So the work needs to happen before. Right. Okay. And I know a lot of brothers, we can learn from that. I'll say even myself. Yeah, definitely. Right. Can learn from that.
Yeah,
and then two, being open.
Right. Because, when we get too much in the routine, it becomes stagnant, it becomes bored, and the excitement has died off. I don't care how many years you have been married or together. Mainly married. You will want to keep that excitement.
Right.
Things change as you get older.
Oh, absolutely.
Things change. It won't be rolling. It won't be rolling like it used to.
We got to talk about that one too. Yeah, go in detail about it. Yeah, the changes happen. So it's just like the novelty wearing off, as you say, or the thrill. Remember, the thrill is gone, or the thrill may be leaving. So you got to address these issues. Okay. All right. So these are some of the things. Let's see.
And we talk about, not being able to communicate.
Sure. So, not able to communicate. Okay. All right. So.
But then you have also some people that are not satisfied.
Okay. So let's talk about that. So the thing is, there is such a thing as addictions when it comes to, the intimate area. That some people may not be satisfiable or cannot be satisfied, period. Incontinency is one of the things there where and there's a famous couple that was married. He's a singer, she's an actress. They had been married before, and a beautiful couple, beautiful couple. And I know the thing about it, that it was rumored that he had cheated. It was rumored she had. I don't know exactly what happened, but then she had accused him of having an addiction, concerning that. Does addiction? It's a real thing. Yeah. And my point is, it's just like this. You may give a person cake every day, and they may feel that it's not enough, so they want to go out to get other flavors of cake. Okay, really, and that's the thing. So in that, it's hard to, if a person can't be satisfied, it's hard to satisfy a person that's insatiable, period. So some people do that, and they go out and cheat because of that, and it's an impulse thing with them. Or it may be the lack of control, with them as well. So that is a reason. Definitely. And we're not justifying any of this. We're just telling you that these are some of the reasons for me. These are not all. And then one reason I think you mentioned about One of the things with poor communication, people, again, we don't talk. Well, then in some cases there, like even if we don't get things out or we don't resolve issues, or we don't talk the issues out, then some person may feel like we're not that close, we don't communicate. So I go out and talk to other women, other men, and then that leads me to get what I feel I'm missing at home,
Yeah.
And then it leads into the infidelity or the cheating in cases there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to communicate and have these conversations. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Go ahead.
That's correct. So, talk, even though this could be the hardest things, and truly, we got to sometimes feel like we got to test the waters when we talk, because we got to make sure that we're coming together when we're communicating, not in a harsh way, not in a braggadocious way, or not in a humiliating way, because it could be a time for somebody's feelings to get hurt. So you got to be able to know how to navigate through that.
So in the conversations, right? Okay.
But poor communication is another reason, and understanding when you don't have a certain connection, also could be part of the reason.
Well, with a certain connection,
Right.
I'm going to say this, that most cases, not having a spiritual connection is the thing. Because again, I tell you this, and I've said this, I'm going to say this in front of you all, is that, and she's heard me say it before, that I'm going to make this nice, and I'm going to say this. Stuff is not enough to keep a man if he doesn't want to be kept. Things are not enough to keep a woman if she doesn't want to be kept. Right. So you can think you all of that, fine, but if it's not in it to be kept, you can give all you want, do your best is best, and it won't be enough. Okay? So we got to understand that it has to be a spiritual connection with that. It does have to be. Foundation have to be spiritual. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you got to know that you got to go to God when you have some kind of weakness.
Sure.
You got to go to God to help you, because we'll have it. We'll have it. But going to somebody else about a weakness that you have about your mate.
Oh, no. Yeah, right.
That's where that is the opportunity for the devil to use that.
And he does use it.
Yeah.
I tell you. And that's for sure, he does use it. So again, like we had a couple things, and we're gonna talk about the last one that we'll hit. And this is usually one of the most popular. Why do people cheat? I
think we kind of touched on that.
We did. Again, we're
the
just going a little bit into it. We're talking about the lack of
sexual fulfillment.
So we did mention some things about a person insatiable or can't be satisfied, having an addiction. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about that you don't have an addiction, but you're just not satisfied, period. Like they're not ringing your bell. Remember the song that I met you on when you didn't ring my bell? They're not ringing the bell, in other words. So now in that, you don't have the conversations, and then, or you might even be, how can I say that? You might be neglecting the other to fulfill. Now there is a Bible verse we talked about, and I'm trying to think, that is in Corinthians, where it says, defraud you not one another. Okay, and you know that one?
You know what I mean?
Okay, so with that, don't just deny, because you're in a place now where you're one in your marriage, and the thing about it, your body is no longer your body. So when you marry, the two become one, and then that's the thing. It says you don't have power over your own body. I know this may make some of you mad, but it says the wife doesn't have the power over her own body, but the husband. The husband doesn't have power over his own body, but the wife. So you have to consider, you can just say, hey, it's my body, and I ain't letting you do nothing. You ain't getting up here tonight. No, You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. You got to do this with more or less agreement. And it says, defraud you not one another, the other, that if you do decide not to do anything, that you only do that with an agreement to fast or pray, fast and pray.
Mhm.
And then after a while, because now you may be, oh, I can't deal. You might not be, you get maybe a little jittery. Sometimes we get, what do things say?
You're
No, horny. Okay, so yeah, irritable, yeah, and horny. So if that comes about, then the thing about it says you can get back together so that Satan does not tip you in your incontinency. The times you get jittery, you're out there. So you got to employ these things. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to
Mhm.
say, but and we have lived and been part of a particular sector where some of the most religious kind of um, let's just say people who feel like because that's what God's word say,
Mhm.
you need to give it to me when I'm asking you, or I'm just going to take it. So
I demand.
what?
I demand.
Oh,
I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm the man. You know what else? You know what I'm saying.
So now we've lost comfortability as well as trust in this kind of this commitment, and it becomes a chore.
Mhm.
So what you don't want, what was that they were talking about?
Guilt.
Like, yeah, the guilt
Right.
of,
That sort
of releasing. Okay, fine.
Okay.
Here you go.
Right. I'm gonna
So
beat you with the word. Now you
yeah.
being out of the word of God. Now this, that, and that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so
we're gonna do it. Let's just do it to stay in the word. Okay.
So
right.
what I want to clarify
Mhm.
is I don't think that's the way God would want it either in a relationship. If we say come together, we talk about it if we want to withhold or not do anything. It could be a time where after a woman has had a child,
Mhm.
or it could be illness.
Yes.
It could
definitely.
be certain things. It's life can throw you some stuff.
Sure. Uh-huh.
And can cause you, just like when we talk about getting married, building this relationship, coming together, these are some of the things that you really, really going to have to consider and talk about.
Exactly.
And you don't know how you would handle it.
Sure.
No, you don't know how you would handle it. But what kind of commitment do you have?
And you got to have those conversations, because just like that, when it comes down to it, we've experienced a few times in life due to the health issues, that things are just not readily happening. So how do we maneuver through that? We got to see, what do we do? Well, we got to agree with what do we do, other means to satisfy or to avoid either one of us running out and falling in the way of infidelity. Right. So we've got to have that conversation. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So, did you have something else you
Well,
wanted to add?
I just want to say a couple things here. It's that, how do you prevent infidelity from happening? Number one, there's a couple things, and I think some people feel like that if I put GPS on the car, or if I'm hiding out in the tree, or get the private investigator out, and I do all of this stuff, and oh man, it's just like that can go on and on and on. Or if it comes down to it, I'm just gonna get my piece, and we're gonna hear all this. Okay, all right, let's step back 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to say this. If God didn't keep you, I know I can't. Okay, so I'm not going to have myself stressed out. I'm going to get good sleep at night when I can. And I'm not going to be running around trying to find you, hide behind car, ducking and see where you're at, checking your phone and all of this stuff here to see who you're talking, who that you're on the phone with. I do not want to live like that. If God don't keep you, you can't be kept.
And what kind of relationship is that? What kind of relationship? What are you building your relationship on? It definitely is not trust.
Right. And some of the things too. Now, what are the warnings when it comes down to fidelity? Some people think it may be something to brag about. Oh, yeah, man, shoot, I done had several women, I done had several men, or whatever. But some of the warnings we want to give to you is that, do you know you risk your life when you do that? Do you know that you risk your life when you step out, when you do those things? One of the things too is that you also risk your family, you risk your marriage. Uh, Again, we say you risk the things that you own, the assets you risk, and you also risk yourself against STDs and other diseases. I mean, seriously,
It's can be many
pregnancy,
things.
several things. So what I'm going to ask, don't risk, and I want to ask you, why will you risk knowing those things? Okay, so as we go on, as we talk, we want to also give some steps as well to, if you've done that in the past, do you talk to your significant other about it? Some people have said before that, oh, take it to the grave. But I'll say this much. I believe that there is opportunity for recovery, even if you've gone through infidelity. I believe this much, that in it, God can restore a marriage. That the person that does the cheating cannot be the one to be the leader out in this. Best thing you can do is pull back and listen to your spouse, significant other. How do we move forward?
Yes.
And let them tell you, not you telling them, well, that's enough time, you ought to be over it by now. Wrong. Okay. So again, we want to say that with that, there is hope,
Yes.
for it.
And can a relationship, a marriage survive
Absolutely.
after infidelity?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Sure.
It sure can. And and having some routine practices that you do together really will benefit that. One of the action steps could be have a relationship check-in.
Sure.
However periodically you do it, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever it works for you all.
Right. How are you feeling? Right.
Yeah. And as we've said on every podcast we talk about when it comes to relationship, you've got to pray together.
Definitely. Right. That's a plus. Also, if you need to, and we definitely recommend seek counseling for help as well. And we definitely not just counseling, but at least spiritual, godly, spiritual-based counseling to keep you in the Word. Okay.
And we have this word all the time: is set some boundaries. Set boundaries. If you ever are in a predicament like we were before, because I'm sure couples understand the ramifications of what can happen and make a way of escape.
Right. Well, no. Hold on a second. You said something. See, the Bible teaches that for every temptation, that God will make a way of escape. You don't have to make a way. God has already made it. What we need to do is just take it. Take the escape that God has already made. If you say, hey, I failed, there was no escape, I have to say, you lying. God's word is true. God made one. So we got to do that. Okay? Go. And one thing I want to say, you said set boundaries. Sometimes you have to set walls. You have to build walls. And I say this much, that the wall that is not present is the one that is always easily breached. Think about it. Okay? All right?
Yeah.
So what do we say? Build these intimate moments between you and your spouse. Talk about, set the times that are best, that the romance can go forward, and don't wait till the bedroom time to do it. Okay?
Yes. And, as we come to a close, and hopefully that you've got something out of this, use some of these strategies. Think about, as you are preparing for marriage, are you in marriage, and how you will and can be tempted with, especially when you're trying to build something together.
Yes.
Because devil don't like unity.
Right.
So, and understand if you have gotten in a predicament that you've set up and you have fallen, and you are agreeing that that has passed you. You have talked about that, and that's past you. That's no longer anything that you will be doing. Understand the love that you have, the love that you have that you can build on. It's patient.
Right. And go ahead. And I want to say, you spark something which brings on the scripture again for myself. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 and 5. You talked about love. It says love is patient.
Yes.
Love is kind.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it keeps no record of ill doings or wrongs.
No,
right? So
not at all.
we've got to exercise that.
So remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that in your toolbox. And hopefully, like I say, if this resonated with you, something that you can use, share, or even be a part of, use these things.
Sure.
Because it has helped us tremendously.
And still helping.
So until our next podcast, thanks so much for joining us for today's podcast of Thursday's Dose.
Thursday's Dose. Love you. God bless.
Bye.
Real talk ain't no need for show. Your love's garden, watch it grow. Just keeping it real, don't pretend. Charles&Melendia till the end. The highs and the lows, we'll win. Together we'll always ascend.
Y'all be blessed.
Thank you.
Open up, hear the heartbeats too.